now. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. NFL going into week 5 and a quarter of the season done in the books. We might be able to draw some conclusions here. First of all, I want to hear from you, Smokey. How was our week looking in terms of predictions? Did you take the lead? Did I defend it? How did it go?
No, you actually regained your couple of spots that I gained back on you last week. What was the total? You got 11, and I got 8. Yes.
That's okay. That's not bad. I will take that.
I'm sorry. I got 9 and you got 11. That's what it was.
So it's a 3-point lead again?
Yeah, it is. 35-38.
Sounds good. Hopefully we can extend that a little bit this week. Make that happen. Starting off right away off the bat. Pretty good game. Thursday night here. NFC West showdown. The Rams at the Seahawks.
Man, both of these games last week went the wrong way for me. I don't know how you called it, but you saw the 49ers drop in that game there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that does give me a little bit of pause on this game here. I know the Rams didn't quite show out as they had been so far this season last week, but I think Stafford and the receiving team, they'll get back on track. You know, it's just a couple drops by Cooper Kupp and whatnot, but I think they can put it back together, and even though they're going to be on the road, I'm going to predict that they're going to beat the Seahawks at home.
I'll take the Rams as well. Now, they did get beat by the Cardinals. We thought they were the best team in the league. Kind of took a loss there, but doesn't really take away from them being very strong. Should be just an overall better roster than the Seahawks. Biggest advantage that Seattle has had over the Rams in recent years was quarterback play. That gap is now very much diminished. So with Matthew Stafford, I think the Rams are a better roster and they'll win the game. The Jets at the Falcons.
Yeah, this game makes no sense whatsoever. The Jets beat the Titans. I mean, it was only a 3-point margin, but they came out and beat the Titans. The Jets aren't supposed to be winning games. That's not how it works. On the other hand, the Falcons blew it. Like always, we blow it in the last quarter. It's always the last quarter. It's always the last few minutes. Like, Jesus, like, I don't know how many times I can watch a Falcons game and see the exact same outcome. Like, it's got to change at some point, right? Like, this can't go on forever. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to pick the Falcons to win this. But if they lose this, I am not picking them again this year.
I see. The thing is, like 2 weeks ago, I said when the Jets were playing Denver, I said this is gonna be the game. We finally see some of the flash of Zach Wilson, and the Jets are gonna get the upset win. I was right, but I just was a week too early. They did it against Tennessee. Man, Zach Wilson, he looks so good when he plays well, doesn't he? He looks really, really good. Which is, I guess, it's a trademark for a lot of these rookie quarterbacks. But there's so much potential there. But is it gonna be like consistently on display? I have my doubts. I will take the Falcons in this as well. Jets are going to have a rocky season. They're going to have a lot of highs and lows, not a lot of consistency in between. And then I think the Falcons in this case, just the veteran presence there on offense is going to help them win the game. Not that it means much. This is like kind of an early season tank bowl already, as you might call it. But I think Atlanta has the advantage. I'll take them. Lions at the Vikings.
Yeah, both these teams looked horrible last week. How did the Vikings go from a 40-point showing to, what did they? They were in the teens. They didn't even hit the 20-point mark last week. I don't know. This is really tough because both of these teams are horrible right now. Although, I will say this, Kirk Cousins is playing great for some reason. It's just the rest of the team is not up to where he's at right now. And it's weird. The Vikings should be better than this, but they're really not. You know, I usually pick them to be a mediocre team, but they're way below mediocre right now. I don't know. Maybe this will be the game where they get right, because anybody can beat the Lions. Like, the Lions have the weakest defense in the league. So I'm going to pick Kirk Cousins to stay on fire and take the win here. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't.
Yeah, the Vikings are playing weaker than they should, and the Lions playing just as we thought they would with all the personnel there. It's like there's no reason to pick a team that's not undefeated, that has not won a game at 0-4. No reason to pick them until they win. They show that they can win a game, so I'll take Minnesota as well. I think they're much better. Like, the 1-3 record is obviously a disgrace for this roster. Even though it's not as strong as it might have been 3-4 years ago, the Vikings should definitely be better than this, and they have to win. This is a must-win game. If you tie for like last place with the Lions, like, it's not looking like a good season, so you have to win it. I'll pick the Vikings as well. Saints at the Washingtons.
Yeah, another weird one. Taylor Heineke led the comeback and actually beat the Falcons. Although the Saints, on the other hand, dropped it. And they just dropped the ball. Jameis Winston is not any better. Regardless of what we thought after week 1, Jameis Winston is not better. He is the exact same player he has been. Maybe even less, because he's not allowed to pass under Sean Payton. I think he's not even the quarterback he was with the Bucs. But, I guess they could throw old boy in at any time and replace him. But, I don't know. I think I'm going to take the football team just because they got the momentum right now.
It's a hard game to pick, but you know what? I'm going to say this is one of those upswings again for Jameis. I'm going to pick the Saints to win it. I know this could go either way, but I think he should probably be the better quarterback here. And it's like always a gamble with him. He could look super elite, and he could look like he doesn't belong in the league one play to the next. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of been his entire career. But when he gets it together, like, see week 1 against Green Bay, notably not a very good defense, but when he gets it together, he looks fantastic. I think just a gut feeling he's gonna pull it together. Maybe it's because it's weird to see the Saints with a losing record, so I'm kind of picking out of habit here, but I think they'll pull it out and win at Washington. Patriots at the Texans.
Well, I guess we saw what happens when new Tom Brady meets old Tom Brady.
Outplayed him.
Yeah, he did. He really did.
He did.
The Patriots should have won that game by all means, but of course Tom Brady always gets his way in the end, and somehow they always squeak by. This one should be no contest, though. The Texans are horrible. Davis Mills is not even on Jameis Winston's level, so I'm going to go with the Patriots on the road.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I watched that game after, because it was really late at night for me. I watched it next day, and I was surprised how close that game was the whole time. Like, this Patriots defense looked really good. Didn't get much going. The Bucs did, and yeah, like, Mac Jones unequivocally outplayed Brady in every facet of the game, and it was a coin flip till the last whistle, which no one really expected. So this Patriots team deserves a lot of credit for that. And Mac Jones especially. I think, yeah, they gotta be Houston. I think they're much better than their record shows. They're better than most 2-2 teams at the moment. So Patriots win. Dolphins at the Bucs.
Yeah, speaking of Tom Brady, he always gets his way, and this should be no different. Whether it's Tua or Jacoby out there playing, I don't see the team really getting one over on the Bucs. Although the Bucs are not as good as everyone thinks they are. Just need to put that out there. They're really not. And Tom Brady's not as good as everyone says he is. People hate me for that, but that's a fact. I'm going with the Bucs to take this one, though, at home, because Tom Brady always gets his way.
The Bucs live and die by their defense, right? That's what won them the playoff games, the Super Bowl last year, and that's something that they should be building on. Question is, this Dolphins team, can they pose any challenge to that? I don't think so. Just personnel wise, look, they can't block the pass rushers. They can't they can't stick with the defensive backs. I mean, they're just outmatched all over the place. I'd be surprised if Dolphins scored more than 13 points, 10 to 13 points in this game. It's probably a pretty low over-under there. So Tampa Bay needs to win the game. I think this is, first of all, kind of a must-win for Tampa to really stick with, who would have thought, so that the Panthers in their division. But also, it's the Dolphins. They're not a very strong team. Two are already out with injury again, so must win, and they're a better team, higher class, so the Bucs win. Packers at the Bengals.
Man, Bengals, luckily they pulled that out at the very end, because they were down by 2 touchdowns at one point Thursday night, and I was kind of feeling bad for them. I'm like, guys, this is the Jaguars, right? You're supposed to roll over them. They're not that hard to beat, but luckily they pulled it out in the end. And Joe Burrow looks halfway decent this season so far. But on the other hand, you never go against Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers will take this on the road.
See, I kind of want to pick the Bengals here because I feel like that Joe Burrow is actually he's looked pretty good. Not just, I wouldn't even say halfway decent. I think he looked really, really good because Trevor Lawrence played at a high level. We had two young quarterbacks play very high level Thursday night, and I went to sleep when the Jaguars were leading at halftime, and I didn't see the end of the game until the next day. But Joe Burrow looked really good. They both played probably the best game of their career so far, and I really want to pick the Bengals just because I know how volatile the Packers can be. But then, how do you pick against Aaron Rodgers, right? Give me a reason. Talk me into it. Like, give me one good reason to pick the Bengals, and I'll do it.
Oh well, that's
I'm
tough.
thinking right now.
I don't know that there is one. I mean, really,
is it like their defense is good enough to, or like maybe okay. Maybe their offense, their receivers are good enough to just torch the Packers secondary all day. Maybe that's the reason. Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Bengals score 45 points. Aaron Rodgers scores 42 points because he's still insanely good. But but Bengals win at the high score game. There you go. I wanted to convince myself of it, and I'll take it. Broncos at the Steelers.
Yeah, another tough one. Steelers look horrible. And the Broncos looked like what we thought they were. I mean, Broncos are not an elite team. No matter which analyst tried to push them up there to be an elite, they're really not. And Teddy Bridgewater's injured anyway, so we're probably going to see Drew Lock in this game. Also, Big Ben is injured. So really, who knows what's going to happen in this game? If Big Ben plays, they probably have a little more of an edge than not, but I'm still gonna go with the Broncos on the road because the Steelers are just bad right now.
Yeah, Drew Lock and Mason Rudolph are both quarterbacks that I was a bit higher on than their average sort of draft ranking before their respective drafts, and both haven't really lived up to it yet. Of course, Mason Rudolph has mostly been a backup there, and Drew Lock currently is sort of in that tussle with Teddy Bridgewater. Is going to get the start now. Bridgewater out with the concussion. I think it's a lot of difference between the two of them in most situations. Of course, he has not lived up to his potential anywhere near that so far. So maybe this is his last chance now with the start to do so in Denver. And if not, he might be out of town next year. But it's a must-win game for Drew Lock, and I'll pick the Broncos. He'll have to prove himself here if he wants to keep his job beyond Teddy Bridgewater coming back. So that should give him enough motivation. Plus, the Broncos defense looking good. Von Miller's still really, really strong, and I think he'll put a sufficient amount of pressure down on Mason Rudolph. I presume will start for the Steelers to win. So Broncos advance to 4-1. For me, we have the Eagles at the Panthers.
Well, people are actually starting to tout that the Eagles can score with Jalen Hurts. But I guess they failed to notice that those two games where they put up 30 points or more were against bottom-tier defenses. Falcons and KC, regardless of what people think. KC has a horrible defense right now. And it's not getting any better this season, I don't think. But the Eagles are basically, they're frauds. I mean, they're not even winning, so I can't even call them frauds. They're just not good. So I'm going to pick the Panthers to get back on track in this game. Sam Darnold can run. Did you know that?
I know, he's like the Russian leader. He's insane. Yeah. If only anyone could have had the foresight to say that Sam Darnold would be good anywhere outside of New York Jets. Man, I would like to meet someone like that. But I will take the Carolina Panthers to win the game. Even without Christian McCaffrey, Sam Darnold is legitimately very, very, very good. Who could have thunk it, right? Panthers go to 4-1. And with the Eagles, it's kind of a conundrum, right? I saw them week 2 and they almost beat the Niners. In fact, they outplayed them and should have won the game. And so I felt like, well, this Eagles team is better than we think. It turns out the Niners are a lot worse than we thought they were. Now this kind of devalues the Eagles a little bit more for losing, and of course losing to Dallas as well. Maybe they're not as good as I had the initial impression. I mean, I've never really believed in Jalen Hurts as a quarterback anyway. And I think it's going to be Minshew Mania sooner or later over Philadelphia, which is, by the way, the perfect city for the guy. Like, it's like a match made in heaven. So I think the Eagles should start Gardner Minshew relatively soon, but the Panthers are winning this game. Titans at the Jaguars.
Could be Deshaun Watson time soon.
Okay.
It's possible. They're still talking about it. Titans and Jags. Divisional game, so you really never know what could happen. The Jags could actually pull out their first win here. The Titans are very beatable this season. But my guess is they're just going to go back to fundamentals because their 2 star receivers are out, and they're just going to let Derrick Henry run all over the Jags. And the Jags are going to score here. I think this will be, I mean, I can't say a shootout because the Titans are going to do it all on the ground from what I can see. I'm going to go with the Titans on the road, and I think it'll be a close, high-scoring game.
We saw for the first time last week the Jaguars actually playing a competitive team to a competitive result, which is encouraging. Now, the record still doesn't suggest that that they're necessarily that good, but I think this is closer than stats would suggest if the Jaguars keep that upwards trend, that kind of slight tendency of like idea of an upwards trend going. I think they have a fighting shot here. I will take the Titans as well just because of the run game, and you sit on the ball, kind of limit the times that Trevor Lawrence gets to touch the football, and kind of try to keep him cold, keep him on the bench a little bit, and that should work out for Tennessee. I'll probably say they'll win the game, though not necessarily by much, as you said. Could be high scoring, but they're the more reliable pick. Not completely excluding the possibility that Jacksonville could very, very well win the game. Browns at Chargers.
Well, I'll give you this. Justin Herbert is obviously legit.
Damn.
I don't see any regression coming so far. So
He said it.
Yeah, he looks good. He's killing it right now. And on the other hand, Baker Mayfield looked horrible last week. So this one shouldn't be a matchup. I mean, if the Browns continue on their trajectory and the Chargers continue on their trajectory, they should end up winning that division, by the way. I'm going to take the Chargers at home. This should be an easy win for them.
So if, with this game that Matthew Stafford had last week, and we've talked about this pretty much every week, but if the season ends today, Justin Herbert is the MVP. He is. I don't want to hear about Kyler Murray. Keep it to yourself. Aaron Rodgers had a horrible first game. Hasn't made up for it yet. If the season ends today, Justin Herbert is the NFL MVP. Just wanted to get that out of there, and I think a lot of people can agree. Can at this point start to agree with me on that. Yeah, Chargers win the game. I agree with that. I think the Browns probably have a better roster overall. They probably have better defense than Chargers, but having that quarterback makes up for a lot. So if that offense can get going, they should be able to outclass them. It's really about it's going to be a lot about can the defensive line of the Chargers. Like, can you stop the running game? Can you force Baker Mayfield to pass and then rattle him in the pocket with the pressure that you're able to bring? And they're also, like, this is super underrated. Like, people haven't really been talking about this, but the secondary for the Chargers are ball hawking machines all over the field. It's Legion of Boom. It's like Pick City out there. So
Derwin James.
Very, very underrated at the moment. So this might be like one of those 3-4 interception game traps for a guy like Baker Mayfield if he's forced to pass in a situation where he's not comfortable. Chargers to win. Bears at the Raiders.
Yeah, speaking of MVP, I don't know that completely takes him out of talks, but hopefully it does. Derek Carr is not going to be the MVP. And it makes me laugh to think that some people were thinking that, but I'm sure Skip Bayless and whoever is still talking about it. They're
Skip is on Kyler for sure now. Dak and Kyler. Like, it's got to be Dak and Kyler, right? Yeah, it only makes sense.
Well, on the other hand, Justin Fields hasn't gotten warmed up. He's not got up to NFL speed, and he still has Matt Nagy as his coach, so it's not going to work out. I'll have to take the Raiders at home here.
We have to at some point discuss who we think next head coach on the hot seat is going to be. Maybe we should, like, next week or maybe even after these predictions today, because we're going pretty fast. Maybe we take 10 minutes to make a bet or formulate something. Maybe we have an idea about head coaches if you have a particular thing ahead. I want to pick, I want to pick the Bears. Obviously, I really, really, really do. But I can't. I have to go Raiders because they've just been looking better. Like you said, Justin Fields just hasn't shown it yet. He's bound to have those games where he flashes and looks very good. I would love it for it to be this particular game against the Raiders. I don't really see it at Las Vegas. I think the Raiders are gonna hold it. Maybe not an impressive win, but I think they'll take it. Niners at the Cardinals.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Trae Young versus Kyler Murray. This is. I really worry for Debo's value on a fantasy perspective here, because I don't know how much Kyle Shanahan is going to turn him loose to pass downfield right now. And it may just be a lot of design runs, but also Debo can be used in special plays like that. You know, he can be used as a running back if need be. But I got to go with the Cardinals here at home because the Niners let me down last week. So I'll take the Cardinals to keep winning.
Now, I'll say this, it's not 100% sure that Trey Lance is going to be starting yet. The latest news has been that the initial diagnosis for Garoppolo was a bit more on the severe side than it actually turns out to be. And he as of now, as far as I'm aware, he does have a chance to start, depending on how things go. It's sort of a coin flip at the moment. But just given that uncertainty, and also given the fact that this team has a habit of falling asleep at the wheel for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time and just completely losing track of a game. Like, you dominate an entire half, you shut Russell Wilson down for an entire half, and then you fumble twice on the same play, and you give away 21 points within like 2 real minutes of game time, seemingly, and you lose the game. And having those stretches against a team that is completely stacked like Arizona, you can't have that. You really can't have it. That combined with the fact I don't even know if Jimmy can play, if he's gonna be healthy, and Trey Lance is not ready to face this kind of defense as promising as he looks. But it's gonna be the same thing we see with Zach Wilson. A lot of people, of course, want to see Trey Lance play, but here's what's gonna happen if he plays. He's gonna have stretches of plays and drives and even full games where he looks completely unstoppable. He's gonna flash his talent, he's gonna show his ability, and he's gonna look like the next Patrick Mahomes, next MVP. Like, nothing can stop him. And then there's gonna be times where he just throws the ball in the dirt and gets sacked and then moves badly in the pocket and shows all the lack of awareness and the experience that he still has. And that's why there's not going to be any sort of consistency with this team. And I doubt I'm going to be picking the Niners much this season against elite competition. It's probably going to heading into the 500 sort of direction, which is not very good. But right now it does seem like that to me. It seems like this 2-2 record is pretty appropriate. So yeah, Arizona to win. Giants at the Cowboys.
You see Daniel Jones? You see what he did? Now, that's the Daniel Jones I'm looking for. And by the way, he got us over 30 fantasy points this past week. So, but this is tough. And also, I have to commend him for beating the Saints. Anyone who does that is on my good side anyway. They look good. The Giants look good, but so do the Cowboys. The Cowboys are also putting up over 30 points a game. And Dak, I mean, I know you're going to hate this, but Dak is on fire right now. Like, Dak is really lighting it up. And it's tough because, I also see that Daniel Jones is lightening up. But he's getting better. I ain't going to say he's on fire yet, but he's getting better. And so is the team around him. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here at home, though, because this is just, the odds are stacked in the Cowboys' favor here.
This would be the game really the game for Daniel Jones to win, wouldn't it? That would it would be wonderful to see. Yeah, Dak, because I mean the Cowboys offense and Dak, they're playing pretty good. He's performing well, and of course he's not on the level of, say, like a Justin Herbert or something, but he's doing pretty well. I will give you that. He's in that second tier of quarterbacks solidly. He's enjoying his time with the likes of Tom Brady and Derek Carr and maybe Sam.
Yeah, a little higher than that.
Yeah, I don't know.
More like a Kyler Murray level.
Yeah, okay. I mean, actually, Kyler is probably he's on the threshold between first and second tier. If I had to make quarterback tiers, I'd say just because also he's undefeated, he's probably in that between first and second tier, which I didn't expect. But there's not that many in first tier anyway. I'll take the Cowboys. I'm secretly, of course, rooting for the Giants and for Daniel Jones to win. I don't like the Cowboys very much, but I think they'll probably take it. I think their offense is just it's gonna be hard to stop for this Giants defense. You have too many weapons on the outside, too many star receivers, and by the way, a ferocious running back duo. Tony Pollard is one of the breakout players so far this year. He's been looking every bit as good as Zeke throughout the first 4 games, and that's not very good for opposing teams if you have to account for that many people on the field. So Dallas to win the game. Bills at the Chiefs, the rematch of the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Now, I have to take the Bills here as a complete team. This might be actually that classic matchup that we see for years to come. I know we talked about this at the end of last season, that the Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes matchup. That might be Brady versus Peyton, of the future here. And I hope they find a way to pair these two teams up every season, as long as both of them are still winning, that is. But I'm going to take the Bills on the road because that defense is easily beatable. And Mahomes is really going to have to put one over on the Bills to actually catch the amount of points that the Bills can put up. So I'll take the Bills.
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? Like, what's up with the Chiefs, though, if we can take them? Like, they're 2-2 on the precipice of 2-3. Coming off of 2 consecutive seasons where they went to the Super Bowl, this doesn't really seem like the direction that they want to be going. So you kind of got to wonder what's going on with that. And of course, yeah, you said Mahomes and Allen, the AFC, the Titans, they're the Peyton and Brady. Of course, there's a guy in Los Angeles who will probably have a word or two to add about that. And some people would even put Lamar Jackson in that conversation. So yeah, the AFC is pretty stacked. I kind of want to take the Bills as well, but because we've agreed on a lot of games, I'll actually go and take the Chiefs. I'm going to say it's one of those games Mahomes just puts up 50 out of nowhere, and there's nothing you can do about it. Also because they really, really need it, because if they start dropping to 2 and 3, it's kind of getting out of reach. I mean, Chargers, we project them at 4-1. The Broncos, we projected 4-1. The Raiders, we projected 4-1. Like, the Chiefs would be significantly behind in their own division. And that's not something they can afford to do right now. That division is strong. You have to be able to keep up. So, kind of a must-win game. I'll take the Chiefs at home to defend it. And Monday night, we have the Colts and Ravens.
Yeah, the Colts got the win. They pulled it out there. And so did the Ravens. I think both of these things, I mean, definitely the Colts are underperforming, but I think the Ravens are even underperforming for where they should be right now. Now, they are finding ways to win, and I guess when it comes down to it, they're just going to depend on Lamar to make sure we win. And he does that. He has the legs to do that. It's tough, though. I'm going to stick with the Ravens at home, but I think this could be a close game also.
I hope it's going to be a close game because the Colts should be a lot better than their record suggests. And the Ravens, obviously, I think 3-1 is the appropriate record for them. I'll take the Ravens as well. I think probably the logical pick. I really want that Colts to start working better, though, with Carson Wentz. I mean, we've seen flashes of looking really, really good, and on paper they have a fantastic defense. You gotta start putting it into practice, though, and you can't squander games away. And this is a good opportunity to prove yourself on a national stage. You want to contend for playoffs, you have to win the game. 1-4 is not going to cut it even in that division, most likely. So Colts have an incentive to win, as do Ravens, of course. I think Baltimore looks like the safer pick. I have to see it, right? I have to see it from Indy before I can really start picking them against elite competition, like I did last year. Not there yet, so Baltimore for me to win. That covers the predictions there. Now, quickly before I'm going to ask you about some fantasy-related stuff. Like I mentioned before with the head coaches, right? Just if you have a particular name in mind, because I remember we did this last year, we made a bet out of it. Mm-hmm. Who do you think, like, kind of judging after 4 weeks, of course, it's a bit early, but some of the trends are becoming clear. Give me some names. What do you think we can expect to be seeing on the hot seat during this season?
I'm looking through
aside from Matt Nagy, of course.
Yeah, well, Matt Nagy is the big one, of course. But I'm looking through, and there's so many first-year head coaches that you would think, yeah, these guys are probably not going anywhere. I mean, you can't see... even like second and third year guys like Stefanski, you know, they're not going to go anywhere after the seasons they've had recently. Joe Judge, I think that team's going to actually pull through and get better as the season progresses. So, yeah, really the only one I could say with confidence is Matt Nagy. I mean, there's Teflon guys like Tomlin's not going anywhere. You know, Belichick's not going anywhere, no matter how bad they get. Yeah, and all the rest are just first-year guys. So, yeah, I mean, Matt Nagy's the only surefire one to me.
Matt Nagy actually is like the best team record that we've mentioned out of all of them. They're 2-2 right now.
True,
I know
true.
you really don't like. I think Joe Judge is a much bigger candidate to me. I think Joe. If I had to bet my money on one guy, I'd say it's gonna be Joe Judge just this season. You mentioned Mike Tomlin. Yeah, he's been there too long. He's achieved too much. And it's going to come down to these guys who've been there for like 2-3 years and came in with the expectation turned around, so far haven't been able to do it. Because then you started to see this limited time window of, it's like, you've been here for a while now, we've never achieved anything so far, put up or shut up. So, and then I think Joe Judge perfectly falls into that category. So that's probably going to end up being my favorite there if I had to bet money. Also, one name I'll throw out, and this might sound blasphemous, but how about Mike Zimmer? Like, I know he's been there a lot, but it feels like the last 2 or 3 seasons we've talked about the Vikings in the same sense, and that they're not really the Vikings they used to be. Like, what, 2016? They were like a playoff. An established playoff team. We haven't seen them play much in January in a while, and I know he's been there for a long time. He's gotten into a lot of playoffs and some AFC Championship games as well. He's generally done well and built great defenses, but the defense is looking bad. That's his specialty. Kirk Cousins running the offense the way that Kirk Cousins does, which is good, right, above average, but not like Aaron Rodgers style, just winning everything by himself. This team seems to be stagnating for a while now. I think Mike Zimmer is kind of the dark horse candidate here for being reasonably seriously called into question if the trend were to continue for Minnesota like that. Because I know they feel like they need to be competing. Aaron Rodgers won't be in the division forever, probably not after this year. Like, he wants to go, and all the other teams are terrible. We know that, so it's gonna be down to who's gonna take that spot. You know, the NFC North is gonna be up for grabs soon. And I know the Vikings want to position themselves because they have the best roster in that division. So maybe Mike Zimmer is one of them. If I had to bet money, I'd say Joe Judge, but keep an eye on the Vikings.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't seem possible right now. But if this, the rest of the season goes the way that it really could for this team, Vic Fangio is probably on the hot seat if they lose another one. If they completely bomb the rest of the season.
He hasn't been there for that long.
Yeah,
maybe he'll get another year, but then again, yeah, you never know.
I mean, they've dropped, definitely the Broncos have dropped 2-year coaches back to back, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
But so far, I mean, you're co-leading the division, I think.
Yeah, probably it could go bad for the Broncos, though.
It could, yeah.
They could end up with like four wins this season.
They have to really fall off, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll get another year, probably not on my top 3 to top 5 list. But maybe we'll have to judge that again. Maybe in a couple of weeks after maybe 8 or so games have been played, we'll get a clearer picture of that. And I don't think we're necessarily in a spot like we were last season where it's pretty clear that like 7 weeks in, the first heads are going to roll. Last year kind of knew like there's going to be Bill O'Brien there. Yeah, he's probably going to be out pretty quickly. Not necessarily something immediate looming at the moment, but give it 2-3 more weeks of underperforming and talks will begin for sure. How about some news out of the fantasy world?
Yeah, we're going into week 4, or week 5. I'm sorry.
5.
Yeah, so it is. We have 4 weeks of data to go off now, so it is officially time to assess the assets, look at your team, and see who you can start cutting at this moment.
All right, I'm gonna be looking forward to that. I feel like I drafted so much value, but I'm somehow 1-3. Like it hasn't really hasn't really came through for me yet. So maybe I suspect there might be a couple of names that I probably overvalue a little bit, and I might have to make some changes there. Though I will say last week I very much hit on some of the changes I made. I brought in Joe Burrow. He did well. So finally a good decision there at the end.
Wow, you were able to get Joe Burrow off the waiver?
Yeah, I got Joe Burrow.
Oh, great. Should
exchange it for Daniel Jones.
You should have played Daniel Jones, man.
Yeah, I know. But I traded Daniel Jones in for Joe Burrow because I felt like Daniel Jones would have a tough matchup against New Orleans.
You couldn't believe me. I see.
I did the week before. I believed you for, I think, 2 weeks or at least 1 week with Daniel Jones. He didn't put up 15 points.
He's actually top 10 quarterback this season.
Wow.
I'd have to check and see where he's at. He might be on the cusp of like even top 5.
But do you play Burrow this week against Green Bay or Daniel Jones against Dallas? I feel like it's an easy Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that is close.
This Packers defense is rotten.
Yeah.
He could go off there.
I mean,
I'll probably stick with Burrow for this week.
Yeah, I've got faith in Burrow. So if you got Burrow, I wouldn't change him out for anything right now.
He's a better quarterback. Like he's just as an individual player, he's better, and he has potential to be better in the future as well. So I'm gonna probably stick with Burrow. But look forward to the hurry up offense coming up later today. So check that out if you're a fantasy head at all. Biggest tips for going into week 5 now. So you gotta get some news, some game theory advice from Fantasy Football Pro. So all for free, of course. Check that out. Help you out a little bit. It sure does for me. So we'll make sure to do that. Other than that, do you have anything else to add for week 5?
I think that's it for this week.
All right. Well, thank everybody for watching. Let us know your predictions or bold predictions or head coaching, firing, projections, whatever you want in the comments, and let us know what you think about that. Maybe you have some hot takes that you want to share. So thank you for watching, and we're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Check.